Good evening. This is Carla from Rehan, Allahwala's World of Connections. And today I am here to speak with the famous Mandar Apte. And I'm so thrilled to be able to speak with him. I want to remind everyone that this program, like all of my interviews, is sponsored by the Institute of Peace, which is an online organization promoting peace one conversation at a time. And this is what Mandar is all about. Mandar, can you please introduce yourself?
Firstly, so nice to be reconnected with Carla and Rehan. Just amazing what you guys are doing. And we need more of this on the world, on the planet. So let this not be the only show, even if it's the most amazing show. Let this inspire other people to have their own, adventures in promoting peace.
Yep. And
With that, I will give a little bit of introduction to me. I am a petroleum engineer. I spent the last nearly 2 decades working in a oil company in Houston, Texas. And then 6 years ago, I left my day job. I became a documentary filmmaker. And that film is a labor of love. I will tell you a little bit more as this conversation proceeds. But the film then took me into a rabbit hole of peace. And now, 6 years later, I manage a nonprofit initiative called Cities for Peace. It's a peace consultancy. We work with various cities across the world, civic leaders, mayor's office, and public health, public safety professionals, law enforcement, to actively promote peace, not wait for act of violence. That's our mission, is to take the message of peace into communities that need this the most.
how did you get interested in doing this work?
So the work that I'm doing currently, you can say it's like, when you are exposed to individuals who have been victims or survivors of violence. It was a very profound experience for me. I spent 10 days with the parents from the Sandy Hook School, Black Lives Matter activists, and a former gang member from LA. With all these amazing individuals, I spent about 10 days traveling across the world in India. And that for me was, I would say, a turning point in my life. At that time, I was a corporate executive. I used to teach meditation workshops, yoga workshops. But all my students used to be from privileged communities, I would say. And so for me, that was a wake-up call that the message of peace is needed the most by people who have been affected by violence. And the way we are, especially in America, we are so immune to violence, like one after the other, like we are desensitized. So we don't look at the survivors, the victims of a violence event, whether it's a domestic suicide or abuse or a terrorism related event or a school shooting. We don't go back and look at, okay, what are they doing now? That was my wake up call. So that's you can say, the reason why I shifted my career, and now I'm focused on this mission of promoting the wisdom of India. You can say the wisdom of the land of India, yoga, meditation, science, being a bridge to the communities and individuals that need it the most. That is how I look at myself, Carla.
And where were you teaching when you were in the United States? Because I know you were in Washington, D.C. for a while, and then you were in L.A., and you were talking about Texas. Can you
Yes.
talk about that a little?
So last 1 year I have been in India. With the pandemic, I have been here to support my parents. But I teach my workshops in the evenings. So my clients of Cities for Peace are communities in Minneapolis, in Rochester, Seattle. So the work continues, even though physically I am not in the United States. I just finished a program in Minneapolis as we are speaking. Before I came to India, I was based in Los Angeles. So I have lived in Los Angeles for 2 years, and I have trained about 250 community members, police officers in the south central part of Los Angeles. Before that, I was indeed in Washington, D.C., where I met Carla. Before that, for 2 decades, I was in Houston, also doing similar work in my evenings and weekends because I had a day job. In my evenings and weekends, I used to go to the Veterans Hospital. I used to teach meditation to the returning soldiers. I have arranged workshops in the inner city of Houston. So I have always been in this, world of healing or peace building. But this is what I'm doing full time these days.
And where do you teach any specific type of meditation, or is it something like?
So, I think meditation is like sports. There are different types of, right? So there is soccer, there's baseball, there's table tennis, there's badminton. But each sport has its set of rules, has its set of practices, has its limitations also sometimes. So meditation is also like that. The specific type of meditation that I teach is by my meditation teacher, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar is his name. And it's based on breath. It's based on breath-based techniques, which are complementary to any other way of meditation also. So that is something unique about what we teach in our workshops is breath-based Sudarshan Kriya or sky-based meditation that you can integrate in any other form of meditation or prayer as well, depending on your faith and belief system. This is a breath-based technology that can integrate with any other philosophy seamlessly.
How long have you been involved with Sri Sri Ravi Shankar and the art of living?
I met Sri Sri Ravi Shankar in 2003, in May of 2003. And it was very inspirational for me. I was very inspired by his programs, his service activities, and I liked him. I liked him, and I felt a sense of, intelligence and combination of intelligence and innocence, humor, fun. And that is a very potent combination. So I felt like, oh, wow, this is so amazing. So I became a teacher in 2004. It was a very quick journey for me. Like within 1 year, I had become a teacher of his techniques.
Oh yeah, I can tell stories about that too.
Yeah.
Did you become a teacher in the US or did you go to India?
No, I became a teacher in the United States. So I did my program, the Art of Living program in Houston. And I became a teacher also in Houston. And I taught my workshops in the United States. And I still teach my workshops in the United States. Physically, I'm in India, but all our workshops are online. So you can be absolutely anywhere in the world.
Now, if you're doing this in the United States, which is great, I'm not. How does it feel? Because I've never taught an online class. Does it feel like you are in the same group and that they're getting the same information?
Actually, Carla, I would say the only good thing of this pandemic is that we are all online. So 1 year ago, or maybe 16 months ago, when we started teaching online, I had a certain resistance to, okay, how are people going to experience?
Yeah.
And if I'm not in the room, how can I truly help somebody who is going through a deeper experience? But now I would say 18 months later, I think this is a blessing in disguise. And let me explain. So, like I said, the people, the individuals, the communities that I am focusing my time teaching and sharing this wisdom, they have gone through a lot of trauma. And when trauma is released, you need to create a safe place for
Yeah.
that trauma healing to happen. So, for example, a law enforcement officer, they have a lot of trauma. And just like you brush your teeth every day for dental hygiene, what we teach is good for their mental hygiene. But a law enforcement officer, or for that matter, a community member who has gone through a traumatic experience, they are not going to raise their hand and say, Chief, I think I'm going through mental health issues. That's just not part of their vocabulary. They're not trained to show their weakness. So that is where the online workshops help, because they are online, they are in the safe place of their own home. They can switch off the video whenever they want. And that is why I feel this is a blessing in disguise, because the trauma, when it is healed, it can manifest in any kind of manner. So people are in a safe place, and what more safe place than your own home, with nobody in your home? That is where I feel it's a blessing in disguise. So actually, the workshops, the same workshops that we teach, Carla, are even more profound because everybody is in the comfort of their own home.
But my question is, you were talking about someone going through some very tough times. When they're doing that and you can't reach out to them, how do you deal with that? And I know you can't go into details. I'm saying very, very generally. How do you deal with it? Because I know the power of the technique.
No, so Carla, I think the planet is going through a turbulent time, right? So it's the pandemic.
Absolutely. It's not
So
just.
it's good that we are in our own home, but some of us, we may not like that because we are social. We want to talk to people. We want to be in other people's company, and that can make people quote unquote depressed, quote unquote unhappy. So I would say, with that in mind, with that in mind, the online presence at least is a blessing. We have to count the blessing that, okay, what if we didn't even have that? So imagine 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when this technology didn't exist. So I think we have to count the blessings in our life. One of the blessings is, if I'm feeling alone, I can be online with somebody that I trust. And so that is where I would say, make use of this time on the planet, wherever you may be listening to this interview. Reach out to a meditation teacher, a sky meditation teacher. The workshops are held online in every country. And take benefit of this time to learn this very profound breath-based exercise, because your immunity is the only way you can navigate through the turbulence of the pandemic. So vaccine, no vaccine, mask, no mask, immunity, no immunity. There cannot be a dialogue and a debate on that third question. Immunity and more immunity. That's what our focus should be. Right? So do whatever it takes to be more immune, build your immunity, and breath exercises, yoga practices are a very simple, profound way to build your immunity.
And it seems to me that the techniques you are teaching, and I'm aware of them, are techniques that even if you were going through something rough or a little difficult, that it would allow us to feel more comfortable. You will get through because the breath is such a universal thing. So how my teaching is coming out. Yes. So how do we teach people to feel comfortable with ourselves who are teaching the process? Because they've never met you face, well, they do, but you know what I mean. They haven't met you physically. They know that you have a great smile, but that's about it. You know?
See, I think, we have to, again, like I said, respect the boundary conditions of this pandemic and count the blessings and learn something that is life-sustaining and lifelong. So find a good teacher, and the workshop itself is only 3 or 4 sessions, 2 hours every day. And it's based on this very beautiful universal science that every emotion in your mind has a corresponding breathing pattern. Yeah.
That's what I
And the reverse is also true. Using your own breathing, you can manage your own emotions. You don't need to tell what trauma you have gone through, what you are going through. None of this you need to share publicly with anyone. All you need to do is learn how to breathe it out. And what happens if you don't breathe it out, right? You yourself will feel stressed. You yourself will feel mentally unwell. You yourself will feel getting angry, getting upset, getting dejected. So that's not a very healthy thing. Your immunity level will go down. If your mind energy is not high, your first thing that will be affected is your immunity. So that is where the science of the breath will help you manage your emotions, your negative emotions. When they are out of your system, that's where life begins. And everyone deserves good quality of life. No matter where you are, doesn't matter your socio-economic background, your political views, none of this matters. What matters is, can you smile without any reason? Then I think that is a life worth living for and aspiring for. Because we get upset for a reason, right? We need a reason to get upset. We need a reason to get angry. But a good quality of life means you can smile like Carla does with absolutely no rhyme or reason. That shows your own quality of life. And again, I'm not judging. It's, sometimes you have to go through tough times. But your mental resilience, your inner strength, nobody can build it for us, right? We have to work on it ourselves. Reading a book doesn't help. Talking to people doesn't help, because they don't get our problem, what we are going through. So that's where we have to invest some time in learning this beautiful science, using breath, manage your emotions. And just like you brush your teeth every day, do this mental detox every day. 10 minutes.
I want to bring up another point and see what you have to say. We actually live in an ocean of air. And that air is what we breathe in and we breathe out. And the moment we come into the world, that's the first thing we do. We breathe in. And the last thing we do in the world is we breathe out, relax, and we let go of everything. How can this help us understand how connected we are to all of each other throughout the world?
I think your question has the answer within the question. So it's like a fish in the water. How does the fish realize that other fish are also in the water? It's a realization, like it comes from within. And that comes when you are peaceful. That doesn't come when you are agitated. So the more peaceful we are, the more contented we are, the more happy we are, the more aligned we are with the natural law, like law of nature. And that's when we don't need anybody else's teachings, because nature is our teacher. Yeah. And then that wisdom is there within everyone. That's why it's called self-realization, right? You have to realize yourself. So that happens when your mind is more quiet, peaceful, contented, stress-free, happy. And happiness, not just like right? That's not happiness. It's just giggliness. Happiness comes from within. You don't need a reason to smile.
Is there some type of fountain of joy within that sparks up when we begin to be kind to ourselves as well as to others? I think a lot of the stress in the world comes from that feeling that we don't like each other, like ourselves. And because we don't like ourselves, we don't radiate it out into the world. What do you think, Mandar?
I mean, you again spoke wisdom, and I don't disagree with you, especially people who are in the business of serving others, like nurses, law enforcement, teachers, because you are compassionate, you are taking on serving the planet as your mission. And we often forget self-compassion. We forget self-care. And these are the practices that will help you take that care for yourself, take that self-compassion priority. And only when you have good self-care and good compassion for yourself can you really be compassionate for other people. Right? So it's like if you are not able to fall asleep, right? At night, if let's say you toggle and you are not able to fall asleep, how do we feel when we get up? Groggy and cranky and lethargic. So that's the analogy. Like you have to sleep, rest well in order to have a fresh, energized next day. That self-care is meditation practice. That self-care is, you can say, going within. And that is where the breath can help you, can help everyone. It's like, you don't need permission to breathe, but you need to learn how to breathe.
Or you need to become aware of your breathing.
Correct.
Okay, I know you need to go. Do you have any words of wisdom you want to leave our audience with? Someone just said that it's so good to see the Indian and Pakistan connection, which is sort of here because a lot of Pakistanis were watching and you're from India. So go with a few words of wisdom and I will end this for you.
I think that, we have to find a higher purpose for our life. And each one of us has to do that. So I can't tell you what your higher purpose is. You have to find it, you have to discover it. And this pandemic for me has shown me that there are very few people that care really about me. And so this is the time when I felt like I have to care for them. So my parents, they cared for me when I was young. And not that I ignored them, but this is the time I felt, hey, they need my care and attention. So self-care comes first. The second is caring for people who really care for you. And the third is caring for the planet. Because the pandemic taught me that it's not China's problem. It's not Europe's problem. It came to my doorstep in Los Angeles. So we are all connected. And that is where, we have to find love light, wisdom, and help people around us to be less stressed, more happy, and we can have different ways of doing it. Yeah, it doesn't have to be teaching meditation is the only way. Not at all. So find your own purpose in life. What do you want to do? Because we are all going to die one day for sure. How do we want to leave the planet? How do we want to, create a legacy? And, you cannot change the world. That's what a wise person told me. You can't change the world, but you can change your world. The people who come in contact with you, can you leave them a little bit more happier than when they were before? So go back to your own friend circle, people who you were friends with and you have lost touch with them. Just text them, hey, how are you? I'm thinking about you. Sometimes that is enough to rekindle that conversation, right? That was, for some reason, there was no communication. So that's where I will say, don't just eat, sleep, drink, watch cricket matches and Bollywood movies. Yes, all that is good. I also do it. But have I would say, a higher purpose to your existence. What are you here for? And, are you here to promote anger, blame, guilt, jealousy? Then that's not the right purpose. So when you say to yourself, like, okay, from today, I'm not going to speak bad words, harsh words. I'm not going to write those harsh emails or social media posts. That itself is an act of kindness in today's world. Right? So start with yourself, see what you can do, and one person at a time. Yeah. Don't change the world until you change yourself. That's my mantra. And look after your parents, look after your family members. They care for you, unconditionally care for you.
Thank you so very much, Mandar. Thank you for your time today. I know you have another meeting to get to.
Thank you.
Let's just end this quickly. Remind people that you're very wonderful. I'm very happy I could talk to you.
Thank you, Carla. And thank you, Rehan. You both are just amazing human beings. So my blessings, my love. And if you can go out and have a nice ice cream and think about me.
Send me some money for it and I will.
I will.
I'm serious.
I will. Thank you.
I will send you my PayPal.
And where is Rehan today? Where is Rehan in the world?
Rehan right now is in Dubai.
In Dubai, okay, got it. Thank you, Carla.
It's post that got us together. Let me remind people that this show has been sponsored by the Institute of Peace, which promotes peace one conversation at a time. And for Mandar, let's just wave goodbye because he needs to go, and we are going offline.